to myself, what a wonderful world.
All right, welcome, welcome. Happy Sensational Saturday. It is a long weekend for some of us. We celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday on Monday for those people that have off. So I hope you guys are taking advantage of the long weekend, doing something lovely for yourself, taking good care of yourself, pampering yourself, doing something that is meaningful for you, practicing paying yourself first this long holiday weekend. So I'm going to start. I like to make this time a little sacred today. I'm going to light a candle because I just feel like I just want to light a candle. And sometimes it's a little thing like lighting a candle. This is a honey vanilla candle, right? It takes a little thing like lighting a candle to just kind of slow your roll. How many of you need to slow your roll? Hey, how are you? I see somebody just joined. Sometimes it takes just like lighting a candle briefly, putting it next to you, makes you slow your roll, because when candles are lit, it sets an ambiance. It's a slow thing. You're flickering and you want to just take it down 1,000, just breathe in, smell the aroma. So if you're watching and you want to slow it down, grab yourself a cup of coffee, that slows you down, cup of tea, light a candle, and let's make this time, a good time, a sacred time, a time where you get to have an moment, where you get to pause, where you get to enjoy yourself, where you get to relax, where you get to just take a moment, take a beat. We rush around and do so many things so fast, we don't take a beat. Guilty, guilty. So today I want to talk a little bit about transformation and transforming your divorce story and how you do that. About the idea is you want to reclaim your life, right? Divorce is one of the most devastating things that people can go through. It's an interesting preposition because I think one of the things we want to talk about is the stages of grief. And I think it's easier to accept if someone dies. If you're a widower and the person passes away, you can kind of get to it was out of your control. And maybe and I'm not diminishing your feelings. I'm not saying it's better or worse than, but I think the mind processes it differently because a lot of when people pass away, there's nothing you could do. Typically, it's not like unless you killed them. There are movies about that. But typically it's out of our control. Divorce is a little different because when you look back and you actually take the time to reflect, you wonder how much was in your control. And sometimes you actually see places where you could have done things differently that might have made a difference in the trajectory of your relationship. And so you have a mixed bag of feelings there. And again, once again, not to minimize anybody who's lost a spouse, that's a mixed bag of feelings too, but for very different reasons. So I saw a quote, somebody sent me a quote. I don't know who it's from, but I saw it. And it was the basis for what I wanted to chat about today. Holding on is believing there's only a past. And we tend to hold on to the glory days of divorce, of high school, of college, of whatever. Like we tend to hold on. That was the best time in my life. Like you can't have it anymore. And the rest of the quote is, letting go is knowing there is a future. And I really love this quote, which I'm going to have to find out who it's from, because one of the things that we tend to do very often is we hold on to stuff all the time. Like our past, in many cases, defines us. The fact that you went to whatever, an Ivy League school, you graduated magna cum laude, you married your college or high school sweetheart, you live at the end of a cul-de-sac with 2.3 kids and a dog. And it was like the perfect relationship, the perfect life, the perfect everything. And when you see that, that's like the past. And then you go through a divorce. And then it's just like, oh, but I had it all. Like you're just holding on to that past construct. Like you can't recreate it. You can't get it again. There's no future and your life is ending right now, which is not true, but it feels that way. And you want to hold on to the way it was in the past. Now, I know for some people, let's be 100 here. Your relationship in that marriage was not that beautiful. It actually sucked. Maybe the person had an addiction problem. The person was abusive. the relationship just died. You guys were kind of coexisting in the same space. You weren't even talking. You just paid bills. You were basically roommates. I've heard that before. You were together for the kids. No other reason. There was no other reason for you to be together. So maybe it wasn't as perfect as you thought. But for some people, that status quo is better than contemplating the future of what might be, because the past is all you want to hold on to. We don't believe it could actually be better, which is an interesting thing. When you got married, didn't you think it was going to be great? Didn't you think like, we're going to have this beautiful life and it's going to be fantastic? Who thought that? Like, raise your hand, drop a yeah, me. I thought that. I thought it was going to be perfect. I thought we had our whole future ahead. You didn't know that. You didn't know that, but you had a vision for yourself being married. You had a vision for yourself having a family. You had a vision for yourself having kids. And then it's like when you get divorced, there is no vision. That vision dies, and we don't take the time to pause, process that, and create a new vision. And that's the hardest part. Somebody said to me when I was going through my divorce that when I finally like really got, yes, the past is the past. The past is in the past, from Frozen. Let it go, let it go. I love that song. Anyway, but one of the things that someone said to me when I was going through my divorce is, you're not just mourning the loss of the relationship, you're mourning the death of a dream. And that really hit me like right here, because I hadn't thought of it like that. And she goes, you just need to dream new dreams. And I didn't have any. It was the divorce itself was so painful because there was nothing I was looking forward to. I did not have another dream. I did not have another vision. I was in survival mode. I couldn't think about the future. And all I was doing was holding on to the past, believing like, this is it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to start over. This is going to be horrific. And so it was really hard. It was a very challenging time for me, as I'm sure it is for you. So I wanted to chat a little bit about that. I have notes. I love note cards, guys, by the way. I love that. Oh, but before we begin, I wanted to start with that quote before we begin. So I got today my friend's mug. Hello, friends. My friend's mug today. And I've got my coffee, and I'm having my almond latte today. My almond latte. I love an almond latte, or an amaretto latte. One of my favorite lattes. I mean, you can do vanilla and your caramel and your cinnamon. How many people do that amaretto, that almond flavor? It's like bellissimo, hits the spot. All right. So if you're here, present yourself in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you're coming in from, drop your questions. Hopefully they pop up and I see them. I've got my other dashboard up here so that I can see them. You know, it's an interesting thing. It feels like I should be able to see this like in real time on a different page, but I never do. Let me see if it comes up here. Oh, it does. All right. Hey, I learned something new today. This is awesome. So maybe I'll do a better job at making sure I catch your comments. The challenge is they'll pop up on this screen and then they disappear for whatever reason. And then I don't see them, which is bizarre. And if I watch on the other, there's always a delay. So then there's a little bit of a delay. So if you're here, again, let me know. I'm going to try to watch. I'm watching two boards for your comments. If I see your comments, I will answer them. If I don't see your comment, if I don't see it in real time live, I go back and I usually respond to all the comments that are in the thread today. All right. Awesome sauce. All right. So divorce is a loss, as we were talking about, and it's a death of something. It's the ending of something. It's a shift. It's movement in your life. It's the letting go of a past. I think a lot of people just see it as something being broken. They're broken. The relationship is broken. And then you can't really fix it. And then we spend time lamenting over all of the pieces that you have to pick up. In the Japanese tradition, there's something called wabi-sabi, where they put together the broken pieces and they make art out of it. And they say that it is a form of, I mean, it's actually an art form, because there's art, you know, like majesty. There's something magical about our brokenness and how it comes back together. Like, we don't have to be perfect but we do come back together, which I thought was a really thing. Actually, there's a book called Wabi Sabi Love. It's a really great book. If anybody wants to read it, more on that later. All right. So grief is a natural result of loss. And I think even if you had, pardon my French, the shittiest relationship on the planet, I think that you will still grieve it. You didn't go into that relationship thinking this is going to be the worst thing ever. You went into it thinking it was going to be a beautiful, loving experience. You were excited. If nothing else, you are mourning the loss of that excitement, of that expectation that when you married the gentleman and the lady, it was, your intention was good. You had a vision for a great relationship and it was supposed to be amazing. And then however it evolved and it became not that. And even the ones that are just kind of, maybe they just kind of died on the vine and they, you separate amiably. There's grief and loss with that. There's grief and loss if one person, especially if there's infidelity, one person leaves for someone else, or there's just random infidelity. They were never faithful. You feel betrayed and one person leaves because of that kind of betrayal. Or maybe there's dual infidelity, right? Both of you were unfaithful to each other and you break up. So there's grief for that. It doesn't matter the reason, even whether your relationship was really good or really bad, we grieve the loss of the promise of that relationship that was unfulfilled in some cases, right? Because sometimes people say the relationship was never good. If I look back, it was never good, but you still grieve the promise that it was going to be, that when you got married, you thought it would be. That's a lot. That's a big thing for people. Like they don't get that. They're like, I don't even know why I still care about this guy. He was the worst thing. Or she was an absolute witch the entire time we were married. I only married her because she was pregnant. Whatever your story is, there was somewhere in you, if you got married, the possibility that this could work out. And if nothing else, you're grieving that possibility when the relationship goes wrong. Not to mention, however long you were married, there were good times in that relationship. It wasn't all bad. It wasn't. I don't care what you say. It wasn't all bad. So you are still in whatever status you are, like in your journey, separated, you're divorced, long divorce. There's a piece of us that mourns the promise of an unfulfilled relationship. Even if the relationship sucked, you still mourn, you grieve it. Now, the degree to which you're in touch with that and allow yourself to feel, express, and know that is what makes a difference in your future trajectory. So many of us don't process the grief and loss associated with relationship. The 7 stages of grieving was written on dying and loss, but it applies to relationship because the relationship is transmuted, it died, it's evolved, it's different. Whatever you had is gone. And for some people, it's gone on a permanent basis. Y'all aren't friends. You don't talk. There's no Christmas club cards. Hi, I see Kimmy's here. Thank you for joining. You don't talk. There's no Christmas. You have nothing, 0 contact with this person. So it truly is the death, for good or for bad, it truly is the ending of something. Other people have to co-parent. You still have to be in this relationship. So the marriage is dead, but now a co-parenting relationship has evolved. And some people have anything in between, right? Maybe you're friends, you have lunch once a year or whatever, your kids are grown, however it goes. It's very different for everybody. The point I'm making is, if we don't acknowledge that we're grieving the loss of something, what happens is, you never get to mourn and get through that. It's just like if you lose someone, you lose a job, you lose a friend, you lose a person in your life that died. There's a mourning, a grief process. You go through stages with that. And then it's no different with divorce. If you do not give yourself permission to do that, what happened is all that emotion backs up on you, because divorce is you shared your life with this person. This wasn't, we went to high school together and we were friends. This is a huge part of your life. You summered and wintered with this person. You shared your home with this person. You shared your body with this person. You shared your hopes. You shared your dreams. You shared your fears. This person have seen you do the ugly cry. And if a guy is on here, this woman has seen you cry, period, for various reasons. It's significant, right? And so if you don't let yourself like, oh, this is grief, I'm grieving. I didn't get that I was grieving, like to weigh it. I got the anger part, like there's 7 stages. I'll say more about the 7 stages, but I didn't get the grief part till way later in the process. I didn't think I was grieving. I was like, I'm hurt, I'm sad. Then I was mad, right? Anybody who was hurt, sad, mad, drop a me in the comments. Hurt, sad, mad. Like I kind of stayed in the hurt, sad, mad. I don't even know that I acknowledge any of the other steps. Yeah, I see some thumbs up, some heart. I stayed in hurt, sad, mad. I felt like for like a really long time. There are other stages, but I didn't really get that I was mourning the loss of something until much later in the process. And it was because I was engaged in my own process of healing. I mean, I took on my healing. So grief is a process. You're not going to skip steps. I was grieving, and I stayed in hurt, sad, mad, but I hit all the other ones. I just wasn't present to them until, I worked with somebody and they pointed them out. Well, this is where you are. But I didn't know that at the time. I just thought, I'm just hurt, I'm just sad, I'm just mad. And I was in mad for like a really long time. And I wasn't even mad at him. I was mad at myself. I was mad at the universe. I felt let down by God. I mean, and the whole church, like it was like a big deal. Mad, I remember more mad, and I remember more sad than anything else. Then I remember grief, and I remember grief. Those are the ones I remember a lot. I would hit the other ones, but I don't remember hanging out in those a long time. The most challenging part of moving through the 7 stages or moving through the grieving process is knowing where you are and owning where you are and allowing yourself to be where you are. Hey, you guys, I'm one of those type A people. I like to plow through. Oh, well, I'm angry. It'll pass. The anger took much longer than I thought. And I guess I didn't give myself a lot of permission to feel it initially. So it was kind of like, I'm not going to let this upset me. I'm not going to let this, like, I didn't let myself, like, I'm upset. I get to be upset. I'm going through a divorce. I can be mad, I don't have to act like a jerk when I'm mad, but I can be mad. It was fine. Once I owned that, then I got to do things to express the anger in really healthy ways. But for a long time, I just felt mad and was like, it's all been working out. You get that high pitch. Who got the high pitched voice and you're squeaking? It's not fine. Interestingly enough, by the way, I'm going to tell you, people also know you're not fine. They think you're okay. They know you're not. Anybody else have that experience? I know I had that experience. I thought that I was like faking it and people didn't know. Everybody knew. Like people knew I wasn't fine. They knew I was mad or sad or whatever. I just got really good at pretending. And the other thing that I pretended is that nobody else knew I was pretending. Not true. Yeah. Me. I see Kimmy said me. Yeah. Yeah. Who was a pretender? Put a P in the comments if you were a pretender. I was a pretender, serious pretender, like major, and didn't think that here's the real edge with pretending. I pretended that nobody else knew I was pretending. Isn't that something? And everybody knew. I cannot tell you how many friends were like, girl, you were like, I was like, they just went along with. They went along with, because what are you going to, they didn't know, they weren't in, my friends at the time were all married. They didn't know how to process my divorce with me, justifiably so. They're not clinicians. It's not on them, right? So if you have friends, it's on them to listen. We knew, yeah, see? We knew, right? If you have friends and family, right, around you, it's not on them to process with you. It's on them to listen. It's on them to support you, but you have to go after your healing. They're not there to help you heal in that way. That's not their expertise. It's not. They want to love you. They want to support you. But all that processing and the downloading and all that, they have a hard time. And especially if they're married and their marriage is good, because then they get fearful. What if that happens to my husband? What if we go through this? I don't know if I can handle it. And they're sitting there thinking about this. Maybe I should go through my man's phone. Maybe my wife is cheating on me. Like it comes back up on them. Even if they have a good marriage, they begin to think about, I don't want to be where she is. Yeah, I didn't talk about it. I don't want to be where she is. And so what happens is they start internalizing that about their own relationship. So then they don't want to hear it, not because they don't love you, but because they begin to evaluate their own marriage, sometimes through the lens of yours. Even the best ones that are really good, it makes them pause and think. Any human would do that, right? So then it's harder to deal with your stuff, right? So yeah, I pretended that everybody didn't know that I was pretending. That's a really good one. All right. So know the stage you're in, own the stage you're in, give yourself permission to experience the stage you're in and let it move through you. It will move through faster and quicker if you own it. There is no right order. You can totally skip around. You might be angry, then in denial, then feel guilty, then feel hopeful. You're going to jump around. It's not the grieving process, the stages, it's not a straight line. You're not going to be like, I'm in anger and I'm really looking forward to denial. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You'll be where you are until you move through where you are. And then sometimes the stages repeat. You know, the human emotional system is like an onion. You peel one layer and then something else shows up. I talk to a lot of people about this, but I find sometimes even now, so my divorce was over some 10, 15, something like 14, 15 years ago. Every once in a while, I will have a memory of something that I have long forgotten. You see something on TV, you see a couple, your kid says something, you have a flash. I forgot that happened. Wow. I remember that. That was really hurtful. Why did that show up just now? And then how do I feel about how that just showed up? Does it still hurt? Am I still upset about it? And sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm like, that really hurt. I remembered that. That was one of the most painful. And you don't feel the sting, but you're like, that was so not cool. And it was humiliating or whatever, right? It makes me sad. It makes me hurt. Other times it's like, that was so not cool. I remember that. Yeah, that's why we're not together. And it's nothing, right? There's layers to this. And I'm like years away from it. And I have a good relationship with my former partner, but that's not the point. The point is the stages of grief, the layers that are there sometimes give, and I know it's the same thing for him. I'm not trying to pretend I'm perfect. I'm sure he sits around and going, I can't believe she said, with women, it's the things we say, right? You know, so it's like an onion. It's a layer. You find it. And then all of a sudden you're like, woo, woo. I know people that'll be like talking to somebody else about something and they're like, oh my God, you're taking me back, flashbacks. I'm so triggered. I remember when, so like, let's change the subject. I'm so triggered because it comes up. It comes up in life where you remember something that happened that was horrific. So be okay with it showing up. Look at it. It might be that it's in other places in your life and you don't see it. Like there's a reason that it came up now. Maybe it's a place for you to go to work, something to work on, and just embrace the process. So I want to tell you about what the 7 stages are. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but this is for your own edification. And if you're in a particular stage, you can drop a me, whatever one. So whichever stage you're in. So the first one was shock and disbelief. Now, I remember this stage very well. Shock and disbelief. I remember like, wow, this is really happening. And then the next stage is denial. I didn't stay in shock and disbelief very long. I went right to denial. And I would say I was in that stage for a very long time. I was separated for almost 4 years. And I think probably 3.5 of those, I was really denial / hopeful. The last one is there's like hope, acceptance. that my marriage was gonna reconcile. I did so much work with the hope that it was. So it was like a denial / hope type of thing. But I remember I stayed in that stage, like, we're gonna work it out. It's gonna be okay. And we weren't talking. Like, I was really in denial. I was really there. I took a boat straight to denial, right? So anyway, that was funny. Denial, get it? Denial. Took a boat. Denial. No laughs on that. None. All right, I'll let that go. All right. After denial, there's guilt. And I felt superbly guilty. I felt guilty because of how we were married. I felt guilty because of my daughter. I felt guilty. It was a rich tapestry. There was guilt. Guilt, I would say, for me, was interwoven throughout every stage. It felt like there was, she gave me a mini ha-ha. Thank you. Guilt was woven throughout all the stages because I felt guilty about not accepting it when I was in denial. I felt guilty about the future for my daughter. I felt guilty about what I had maybe done in the relationship to hurt them. I felt guilty about the choices I made. I didn't make the right choices and I should have known better. I mean, I think guilt was woven into every stage. It's just where I was. Anybody else rode the guilt train? No, I'm not going to make a joke about that. Anybody else ride the guilt train for a really long time? Drop an OG in there for guilt. I'm an OG. I'm an old head. I hit the guilt button. Anybody have guilt around? A lot of us have guilt for religious reasons. That's OG. That's real guilt. That's when you get into, you really are getting into it. I know some, I call them recovering Catholics, but there's a lot of people I know that have deep religious beliefs. And so the whole divorce thing was just devastating from that perspective. They had a lot of guilt around just in that one arena. What were they going to do? How were they going to tell their pastor? What was their church going to think? All this stuff. So drop an OG if you had the guilt factor. That's number 3. Number 4 is anger and bargaining. I didn't do much bargaining. I just felt the anger. And I'm not an angry person. It was really foreign to be irritated with someone, even if someone was myself. And of course I was irritated with him, but it was a foreign emotion for me to be irritated, upset, and angry, because I kind of don't hang out there. That's not my default way of being. I'm usually like pretty zen and peaceful, and well, okay, if that's what they want to do, they have the right to do that. And I had a hard time processing the angry piece, and I didn't know what to do with it. So that was why it was like this, just stuff it down, or it would explode. Like I didn't have patience, not at work or anything. I had a couple good choice arguments with my sister. Probably she would have got the brunt of it. She's a safe place to do that. Maybe my mom, I don't know, that may, I don't remember really I probably was angry with her. I had a couple choice words with some girlfriends. But for the most part, I didn't do a lot of processing of my anger, initially. Then I started taking kickboxing. I started working out, and then I started running. That was a healthy expression. I did a lot of crying. I did a lot of weight training where I would just cry and get angry. That was very healthy. So anger was definitely there. I didn't do a lot of bargaining. If you give me my marriage, I'll do that. I didn't do a lot of bargaining, but that's okay if you do a lot of bargaining. For a lot of people, that's what they do. They go straight to, I'm sorry. It's laced with guilt. I know what I did wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I'm so sorry. If you give me a second chance, I'll never yell again. I'll never do that again. That's a very normal thing. No harm, no foul. But I didn't hang out in anger very long. Anybody who was on the anger train? Put an A in there if you were on the anger train. Anger was one that I definitely remember having some space for. And actually, I credit anger. So you can use anger. Anger was really one of, not the reason I got into working out. But when I started working out, after I had my initial epiphany, my health epiphany, and I started working out and it helped me process anger, I love to work out even more. because you could really like just kind of dissipate it. And it really supported me doing that. It's one of the reasons I still love to work out to this day, because you can get on a treadmill, take a boxing class, do kickboxing. You can work it out like physically and just have that anger dissipate. So you can be with what's underneath the anger to process that. What's underneath the anger is depression, loneliness, because you're reflecting. It's this reflection period where you really get to, it's hard to think, reflect, to be with yourself, that sadness. If you're pissed, you just stay in pissed, right? And it's hard to penetrate. People can't talk because you're pissed. You don't have great conversations when you're angry, right? You don't have great conversations. And you don't really have a lot of dialogue. It really is you kind of downloading on somebody. If you have a good person, they're listening and they let you have that moment and they allow you to get to what's underneath of it. Most of us don't. You're angry, they're angry. There's a big fat angry like soup that you're in. And that's how it goes until you guys go to your neutral corners and then come back later and you can talk. So the next one was depression, loneliness, and reflection. I did a lot of reflection. Now, it's possible I may have been depressed. I had clinicians tell me that I was depressed and wanted to medicate me. I didn't feel like I got it. I'm sad. I was probably having a bout of depression, but it wasn't medicating depression type. That was also the reason that helped me, that I loved working out, because my endorphins would rise. It really helped combat a lot of those things. The other reason why is, you guys, if you know anything about my system, Fem Factor Fit, I always talk about fitness as the first one. It really helps you move through this. Emotions are energy in motion. And when your body gets in motion, you have an opportunity to process that. In addition to getting healthy, it lends itself to a mental and emotional level of health through your body. And it is hugely important. Energy and motion, all those emotions get stuck. They get trapped at a cellular level. They get trapped in your mind. They get trapped in your whole body is holding on to it. The stress. That's why people say my chest is so tight. My back hurts. I get headaches. We have all these like symptoms of all that because you're holding on to all those emotions. So working out super helped me deal with depression. It helped me deal with the loneliness, and it helped me reflect. I had some of my best ideas. I would be listening to music. I'd get off the treadmill. You're not angry anymore. You're like, I really hurt my feelings. I'm really disappointed about that. That really made me sad. And sometimes I would just sit there and go some places. Sometimes I'd cry on the treadmill. You guys, I would have runs bawling. Yeah, in the gym. I mean, they just think it's sweat. I didn't care what people thought. It was like, oh, she's really sweating, and tears rolling down my face. Who cares? But I got it out, right? You got it out. Stage number 6 is reconstruction or walking through or testing. So this is like where you're like looking, testing, trying, learning. You're moving forward. You're moving your life forward. And I did a lot of that. That was a fun part of my life, the rebuilding my life, the reclaiming my life, and then acceptance is the last step. So I wanted to talk today about the reclamation, reclaiming your life, right? Here's the big thing. There's no set time for following the process. You get to be in the stage you're in for as long as you need to be in that stage. You get to process that stage. You get to own that stage. And I always talk about divas own the stage. Wherever you are, you own the stage. If you're pissed, you just tell. When I'm mad now, I'm like, this is really making, like, I'm pissed off. I'm really angry about this. So let me dial it back, because I'm going to have to process this conversation. And just know, like, I call customer service people. Here's my favorite thing. And you guys, I love this. When I'm pissed and I call customer service people, I lead the conversation with I'm pissed, because I'm owning it. I'm taking the stage and I'm owning it. This is the 5th call that I have had. No one has been supporting me, and I am royally pissed off. I'm very upset. So I'm not upset at you because you're the first person I'm speaking to, but let me tell you that I'm upset with this company, and I do not feel that I have been treated fairly or accurately. So I just want to put that out there because I'm agitated, and I know you can hear that in my voice. I own that. I own that it's not you. This is a process. I didn't talk to 18 people before I got to you. You own it. You own it. I'm upfront. Usually when I'm mad, I'm like, all right, well, this really is making me angry. So I'm going to need a minute. if I don't think I can be articulate. If I don't need a minute, I'm like, well, this is really making me angry. So let me step back. Here are my issues, and you get into your issues. But you don't not own whatever stage you're in. There's other ones that are quiet stages. Denial is quiet. You're not going to walk around saying I'm in denial. You're going to have to face the fact that you've been in denial, right? And it's layers about things. Maybe you were in denial about the marriage being in jeopardy. Maybe you were in denial about reconciliation. Maybe you were in denial about them being a good co-parent. Maybe they're not a good father. Maybe they're actually a danger to your children, or you really should do something different about the custody arrangement, in spite of you wanting to give them the benefit of the doubt and you know that they love their kids. But maybe they have an addiction problem. It's not a safe scenario. Or maybe they have anger issues and you know that they need to get support before you start letting the kids stay over there. Like, whatever you're in denial about, it's okay. You have to be with that. Or if you're in depression, or if you're in the guilt stage, it doesn't matter what stage you're in, just be with it, own it, be with it. And then when you move past it, be okay. It might come back in a different form for a different reason about a different issue. It's layered. For many of us, you were with this person 10, 20, 15 years. You're not going to like get over it in 6 months. It doesn't work that way. There will be phases and stages, and be okay with the phases and stages. You will heal, you will get better, you will move on. But the real key is to give yourself permission to have the experience you need to have so you can create the life you want to create. If you do not give yourself this experience, all of those emotions just back up on you. And when you've created the life you think you want, there's an explosion and you blow it up. You blow it up because somewhere you never processed the fact that you don't think you can really have it. And then you sabotage yourself going forward. You sabotage new relationships. You sabotage the co-parenting relationship with your partner. You sabotage the relationship, the openness you have with your children. You sabotage, your career aspirations. You will blow up your life if you don't process these emotions. Buried emotions don't die. They don't. All they do is wait for the right moment, and then they show up and then create all kinds of havoc and drama. So divas, I always talk about my divorce divas. Divas, own your stage. Own the stage you're in, own the stage you're on. If you're in one of these phases, give yourself permission. Yeah, this is a denial moment, and I'm going to be with that. That's where I am. This is an anger moment, I'll be with that. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm going to be with that. And whatever that looks like. And I'm going to take care of myself while I'm here. Do that. There's no set time. So once you can, no set time for the process, give yourself to be with the emotions and move through it at your own pace. And then here's the super key one for you. Pause. Be supported. All right, here's the hard part. I did not do this. Like somebody posted, I didn't talk about it. I didn't talk about it. That was my mom, by the way, who posted that. I did not talk about it. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I wasn't confident. I also didn't have faith in my support system, my family, my friends. I didn't trust them with my heart, with my experience. I just didn't. That's where I was. Not right or wrong, is where I was. But I would encourage you, wherever you are in the stage, let yourself be supported, however that looks. Whether it's hiring a professional, talking to your pastor, getting counseling, meditate, crying whenever you feel like it, journaling, working out, talking it out, walking it out, praying it out, talking to friends, going to groups, joining a group, having a circle, whatever, chanting, making the time sacred, light a candle, meditate, talk to God. Look for ways that have you feel soothed, relaxed, refreshed, valued, acknowledged. Be with people that have you feel that way. Work with professionals that have you feel that way. If you are talking to a clinician, a counselor, and they don't make you feel like I'm not shifting, moving, I think one of the counselors I went to, the one that wanted to medicate me like out the gate, I didn't go back to that person because that's not who I am. I went to another counselor, another woman, loved her. She and I were on the same page. She was the best. I went to pastoral counseling because I'm a spiritual person and I needed that foundation. She was fabulous, fabulous. The other counselor was not. I didn't stay with that person. I let myself be supported by the kind of counselor that would support me, that was aligned with my belief system, that offered me things that I would consider or feel supported by, or techniques that I could appreciate. You get to do that. I found a workout routine that really worked for me. Running. I liked kickboxing, but running was really like my grounding thing, and strength training. Those were the things I did. I worked my body, like strength training. I really loved, I still love lifting weights and running. They're like my jam. I love Zumba. Zumba is my jam. I didn't find that till much later. But I worked out, strength training. That was super helpful to me. I prayed, I meditated, I journaled, I read. I didn't watch much TV. I stopped listening to like a lot of love songs, and I listened to different kinds of music. When I was ready to go out and be with people, I went out and did things that were of interest to me. I didn't just go out and drop it like it's hot at the club. I wanted to meet different kinds of people where I could be in conversation, be supportive, and meet men and women. Like I wanted to expand my horizons. I let myself be supported. I did things that I loved that made me feel good about me. I didn't let myself, and you guys, it was hard. Sometimes I was like, I just want to sit in the house and do nothing, because that was that depression stage. And sometimes that was okay. Sometimes it was great to take a bath and do nothing and enjoy myself, right? Enjoy my home. Other times it was like, you need to be among the living. So go be among the living. Even if it was just going to Panera, taking my journal and reading, and some of the Paneras have a fireplace, sitting in front of their fireplace and reading and having a latte. I did that. But let yourself be supported. Let yourself be supported by you. Let yourself be supported by others. Let yourself be supported by your family, by friends. Let yourself be supported in a group setting, in divorce group settings, whether they're virtual or in person. Let yourself be supported by your spiritual support, your church, your pastor. Let yourself be supported by professionals, clinicians, counselors, coaches. Get some body work done. Have some acupuncture done to release stuff. Do some Reiki. Get a massage, or like they call it, take a forest bath, go for a walk in nature, take a hike. Let yourself be loved on during this time. Be supported. Don't lone wolf it and try to go it alone and tough it out. Women are really good at being strong. So are dudes, by the way, and dudes more so, because they're not going to talk about this as much. We're all really good at being strong, but you don't have to be that strong. You just went through something devastating. And even if you're already divorced, you've been divorced for years and you haven't processed all this stuff, or it's all still there, or you're in the midst of divorce and there's still like, it's a rich tapestry, give yourself permission to be supported. You get to be loved and taken care of during a difficult time in your life. You get to do that. You're grieving the loss of something. And it's important to be okay that it takes time and that I need to be loved up on at this time in my life. It's not, don't make a big deal of it. You're human. You need it. You get to have it. Right? All right. So that's what I got for you. 7 stages of grief. The thing about reclaiming your life and a new beginning, you can't skip over this piece of it. Right? You can try to reclaim it, but this is how people end up having horrible second marriages. That first relationship is he's your ex with a different name, right? Because you didn't process this stuff. Some people have other horrific things where they're moving in with some guy because they haven't processed the fact that they're a codependent person and that they just rely on men to take care of them. Or it's reverse. I've seen it the reverse. Men are codependent and they don't really know how to take care of their home and themselves, and so they want a woman to do all that. I've seen it both ways. I don't have any judgment around it for either sex doing anything except to say, and this isn't judgment, know where you are, let yourself go through the process so that when you do create that new relationship, it's actually one you want. It's actually healthy. It's not a 2.0 version of your ex. It's not the 2.0 version of your daddy or mommy issues from your childhood. Like, really take the time to get at it. You get to reclaim a life, a dream, but you can't do that on a sandy or cloudy foundation, right? If you building castles in the sand or building castles in the sky, like on a cloud, there's no foundation. And the way you get your foundation is, what do they do? The first thing they do when before they even put the concrete down, what do? Anybody? They survey to make sure they can put the foundation down, like it's a good place. The earth isn't going to sink in. They know what they're dealing with. Then they clear away all the debris, all the trees, all the crap, the issues, the animals, the forests, the bugs, whatever. They clear it away, make it smooth, and then they lay down that rock solid foundation. Going through these steps of grief, going through your process, allowing yourself to, and I'm not saying the process has to be linear. You can do whatever it takes to be healing. I'm saying acknowledge you need to go through a process to get your healing and be on the journey with that. And I'm not saying you have to like have some counselor or clinician like, here's your clean bill of health. You got an A+ in healing. You can now go forth and create your life. It's not that. You will know there will be a place where your foundation feels solid because you feel solid. And it's not that things won't come up again, they will, but you will have tools to deal with them. You will be equipped to process that. You will have an understanding of yourself at a deeper level. You will understand your own red flags and why this showed up. You will be able to communicate better with your family, with your coworkers, with your boss, with any new partner around what you're experiencing. And so you won't create the same issues that you had in the past. This is that you will not be holding on to the past because you know that you've let go of that, and that you will be embracing a future. But the way that works is let yourself have your process, whatever that is, however long it takes. And then you will get to a place where you're like, the way is clear. I'm laying a foundation for the future. Now you're ready to start. What is now the vision for the future? What is it I'm willing to claim? What is my dream for the future? Just like you had a dream for your marriage, you can have a dream for your life after divorce. You can have a vision for your life. You had a vision for your marriage. You can have a vision for your life after divorce, but you've got to process all that stuff. And for some people, I know for myself, I couldn't get to the vision for life after divorce because it was just too much crap. There's too much debris. It's kind of hard to like, what's this going to look like when you can't see the forest for the trees? There's a lot of trees there. But once you get to the point where you're like, you've unearthed enough stuff, the vision will come to you. And even if there's still trees in the way, think of it like an architect. They have a vision for a building, even if there's still trees in the way, but they are clear enough within themselves to see what the possibilities are. But it's hard to do that if you just got a lot of crap in your space. It's just really, really hard to do that. So the key to reclaiming a new beginning is to make sure you have completed your past. You don't have to clear everything. Nobody clears everything. There are people that would say, I'm in a really good place at 85, and they'll tell you, I still get triggered about certain things. Not because they haven't done their work, but because that's just the place. It's an evolution. It might not be something that happened in childhood. It might be something that happened, when they were in their 60s and they had a bad relationship and they've since remarried and cleared, but then that might come back up again. All is okay. The real key for you is to own your own process, be in your process. And then when you get to a baseline, you'll know. And now you're ready to create a new dream. You're ready to think about, what could a possible future look like for me? And then you can own that and start building a foundation for that. That is a real key. You cannot, what do they say? You can't put new wine into old wineskins. You can't build castles in the sand. You can't build a house in the sky. If you do not have a good foundation, if you are all over the place, then it's going to be really hard for you to, this is what people talk about, my pickers off, right? I picked the wrong jobs, the wrong men, the wrong friends, the wrong everything. It's because you haven't processed your stuff. You don't pick well when you haven't dealt with who you really are. You don't even know what you really want. You're just picking based on a pattern of who you've been in the past. So take the time, own your stage, right? Claim your stage. This is where I am. This is who I am, right? And also when you do that, that's part of laying a foundation. It's also very attractive to people. They're like, she is authentic. However she is, she's going to tell you where she is. She's going to own it. She's going to own her process. She's going to communicate around it. I respect that. People respect that, right? When you're owning it. So take the stage, own your stage, do that. And then as you begin to clear a clarity will come to you as you begin to clear out all the debris from the emotional baggage. You unpack that trunk. The way will come to you. Clarity will reveal itself and you will get clearer and clearer and clearer about the vision that you have for your life. Now you have something to claim, to rebuild that is more compelling than mourning and lamenting the past. But you have to do the work to let go of the past, or else it just keeps coming back up. It just keeps coming back up. I cannot tell you how many people marry other people, but they're like, yeah, I know that, like they'll never love me the way they love their wife, or they still have issues with their wife, or it just backs up on them from time. I'm not her, or I'm not him. It still comes out. It's because they never dealt with it, right? And that's not to say that the current marriage isn't good. It's that the other person, once again, pretending that nobody knows you're pretending. People can tell, especially people close to you, that you're not over it yet. Right? So don't pretend you're not over it. Just be like, yeah, I'm not past it yet. That's okay. All right. So that's what I got for you today. Happy Sensational Saturday. It was great chatting with everybody this morning. All right. Couple things. February, the love month. I think I'm going to be doing stuff all about self-care. I think that's so important. If you can't be with the one you love the one you with. Who are you with all the time? Yourself. If this supported you, share it out with somebody, share it on your page, or share it out with somebody you think it might also support. People often they won't tell you what they need, but if you can see what they need, especially if you're like, yeah, I'm not the person, but this I think would support them, share it out, send it to them, let them know that you care about them and you saw this and you thought it might support them. You don't have to get into that. I always tell people, yeah, well, then they get mad at me and I'm gonna tell them, hey, I saw this. I thought it was pretty good. Let me know what you think. You don't even have to say it might support them if they're sensitive, or if they're not and they're open, say, I thought this might support you. All right. If you've not already done so, join my new community. There's trainings in that new community. I'm really working on one about self-care. And I think I'm going to create 100 ways to take care of yourself, like a tip sheet. If that would be interest of you, let me know if you'd be interested in that. You can drop a 100 in the comment section. That would be awesome for that. And then if you are not on my VIP mailing list, please get on my mailing list. I don't email you to death. I try not to, but I do an audio newsletter and I try to do a regular newsletter and I send that out weekly. This is where I let you know all of my good gems. I let you know what's coming up. Any discounts that I give, that list gets deep discounts. Then there's everybody else. So join my VIP mailing list for that. And I will be also launching a new program, more details to follow on that, but it'll be on the mailing list first. And lastly, February, I'm going to change the time of this because I have another class that I'm taking. It's going to be at this time on Saturdays. So I would love to know if people want to do it earlier, like 7:30, which would be, me getting up at 7:30. But the class that I'm going to be doing is at 9. So I need time to get there, or later in the morning. I mean, I could conceivably do it at like 10:30 or 11 on a Saturday. That might work. Or I could do it on a Sunday morning at 9, because I also have something at 11 on Sunday. So would love your feedback. And I think I put a poll up somewhere. It's going to come up after this to let me know what you think. All right. Happy Sensational Saturday. I hope you have an amazing long weekend. For those of you who have a long weekend, if you don't have a long weekend, have an amazing weekend. Do something to celebrate you. It is Celebration Saturday, Sensational Saturday, but do something to celebrate you today. And it may even be just starting with acknowledging you're in the stage and you need to be loved up on, and do something kind, loving, supportive of yourself today. All right. I love you guys much. I will see you next Saturday as we talk about reclaiming our life for the new year. Mwah.
I think to myself, what a wonderful world.